Welcome back to The Long Game. I'm Jay Roberts. A decade ago, Miami was known for beaches and finance. Today, it's one of the fastest growing tech hubs in the country, and my guest is one of the people who willed it into existence. Melissa Medina is the co-founder and CEO of Emerge Americas, the platform that has spent over a decade transforming Miami into a global technology hub. What began as a conversation with her father, Manny, grew into a 20,000 person conference, drawing founders, investors, and innovators from more than 50 countries. But Emerge isn't just an event, it's an ecosystem of accelerators, summits, and pitch competitions that has helped early stage companies raise billions. And Melissa built it the hard way, deliberately, year after year, which is exactly why she belongs on this show. Building a tech capital from scratch isn't a sprint, it's the ultimate long game. In this episode, we get into building ecosystems from nothing, the intersection of tech, venture capital, and community impact, and what it takes to bet on a city before the world catches on. Melissa, thank you for being here. Melissa, you were born and raised in Miami. You've seen so much. Miami today is much different than it was when you were growing up. And your family's been in the real estate business since the 80s. What was it like growing up in Miami Beach?
Well, Jay, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm a huge fan, and I feel very honored to be on your podcast and sharing a bit of my journey and my story and my long game. Growing up in Miami was wonderful for many reasons. One, I'm first generation American. Both my parents are Cuban and fled communism, like so many other of us that were born and raised here. So from the beginning, I knew that I had to be extremely sort of grateful for the opportunity to be in a country where I had opportunity to build a company, where I had a great education system. So whether it was Miami or anywhere else in the US, I knew first of all that I, needed to show gratitude for that part of my family's journey. But also growing up here, with my brother, we grew up in Miami Beach, very different than it is today, Miami Beach. This is all through the 80s and mid-90s, was great. We really had a wonderful childhood. But from a sort of business, specifically tech landscape, there was nothing really. There wasn't an ecosystem for that growing up.
It was a vacation place for
Yes,
snowbirds.
it was a lot of vacation or retirement,
What were the hot spots back then when you were growing up on the beach?
Yeah, so I moved out of there when I was 14.
Yeah.
Lincoln Road didn't really exist at the time.
Wow.
We rode our bikes everywhere, spent a lot of time on the actual beach. That was sort of our outing all the time. We would pick up some Kentucky Fried Chicken buckets on 41st Street.
Sounds amazing. Yeah.
Incredible, right? With a bunch of friends and head off to the actual beach. So that was sort of our hotspot in Miami Beach because it was hotels and yes, some clubs that I wasn't going to at that age. And then the hotspot, definitely in high school, was the Grove area.
Okay.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time in Coconut Grove.
And your family has a history with the Grove.
Yes, we
Your
do.
father, and a lot of people may know this and may not know this, was the original developer of Coco Walk.
Yes. My father started a real estate development company in 1980 and built a lot of commercial projects, residential projects all across South Florida. But he had this soft spot for the Grove and built Grove Hill Tower, so multiple different residential real estate projects in the Grove, built Coco Walk, built Monty's, the new Monty's that still exists there today. He built, and so I spent a lot of time in my teenage years in that area. And it's really amazing to see it come full circle now because Coco Walk was revitalized. And I'll tell you that my family was the first one to say it was needed and necessary. And it came out beautiful. And just the restaurants, the vibe, I think it's a jewel of an area in our community.
Absolutely. And Coconut Grove has grown so much.
So much. Yeah.
And the Medinas have an entrepreneurial drive. How did your father get into real estate coming from Cuba and get into development?
So his journey into entrepreneurship and starting his own company stemmed from college.
Okay.
His mother, my grandmother, forced him to go to college. And he thanked her for that until she passed away just last year. because it was life-changing for him. He spent 2 years in Miami-Dade College, which is where he said the foundation of the love of learning started. He didn't really like high school before that. And then he went to FAU and got an accounting degree, went to their business school. He worked at a big accounting firm straight out of college for several years, but he realized, I think, at a very young age that he really liked to work for himself. And so although working for a big accounting firm was a great experience, he traveled all over the world as he recounts the stories to my brother and I. It was a foundational experience for him, but it also made him realize, I want to start my own thing. I want to start my own company. And he is a visionary. He felt that Miami and South Florida was sort of a breeding ground for potential real estate projects. And he just started researching and realizing the opportunity and decided in 1980 to open up a real estate development firm called Terremark.
Terremark. So Manny Medina, early entrepreneur, visionary, real estate developer. I can imagine developing real estate in the 80s.
Yes.
And the story gets even better. So he develops Cocoa Walk, residences in Coconut Grove, properties, throughout
Here
Brickell.
in Brickell, yeah.
Absolutely, throughout Brickell. And then there was a moment that changed the course and direction of Terremark.
Yes.
And this was early. This was data centers. We were talking about this before we went live here. What was that moment, and what did he see? There's so much to unpack here.
Yeah. I remember that moment pretty clearly because I was in college. I was studying in UF at the time.
Okay.
It was late 90s. And I started getting phone calls from longtime business partners of his that I knew very well growing up. And as I was mentioning to you earlier too, I grew up in his boardroom. I grew up internships throughout the year, summers. I was infatuated with learning about a business. In this case, it was a real estate business because that was my family business. And I loved looking at the numbers and doing due diligence on projects. So I got to know quite well a lot of his business partners. And I was getting phone calls as a teenager in UF away for the first time saying, I think your father's gone a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because he won this bid to build a data center or a NAP, network access point, here in Miami. And now he wants to own and operate it. And he wants to quite literally pivot the company's focus now into continuing to build data centers in other areas of the US and around the world. And basically he's putting all his eggs in one basket and completely getting rid of the traditional real estate model that he had done at that point for 20 years almost. So it was very, very risky.
And this was in the late 90s.
This was the late 90s. He finished his first data center, which is called the NAP of the Americas, still here in downtown Miami. It's one of the premier data centers in the world. It basically serves as an airport for internet traffic, not only for the Southeast US, but for almost all of Latin America. So it's a very sort of pivotal data center. And that ribbon cutting ceremony was in the summer of 2001. He built it in less than a year.
Less than a year?
Yeah. And it's like Fort Knox. I mean, that building is Category 5 hurricane proof. It looks like there's windows, but there's no windows.
It looks like Fort Knox.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's built that way on purpose.
So for those of you listening, it's now today the Equinix. If you've seen Equinix in downtown Miami World Center.
That's the NAP of originally the NAP of the Americas, bought by Verizon, and then later Equinix.
And then Equinix bought Verizon's data center portfolio.
Exactly.
When I worked in investment banking, we worked on that transaction.
That's exactly the history. But it's still there, yeah. But that was the moment you were asking. That was the moment when the company shifted its focus from traditional real estate into now, I want to build a portfolio of data centers. So he actually rebranded also from Terremark to Terremark Worldwide.
And you said the ribbon cutting was in 2001?
Yes, it was late July, early August 2001, so a month before September 11th.
So 25 years ago, getting into data centers, your father going all in, the family going all in.
All in. We're poker players, by the way.
Poker players.
We are.
He said, he really, looking back, he had the top hand because because data centers, technology has had so much growth. Today, you see Blackstone getting in data centers. They're the largest data center owners now in the world. And there's so much focus with AI and what you guys are doing in tech with Emerge.
Yeah. But he has this way of, I don't know, forecasting things that other people would call crazy.
He sees what other people don't see.
Yeah.
He sees it early.
He sees it early and has the risk level to act on it. And I'm hoping, I inherited some of that.
What did you learn being in the boardroom, growing up, and now co-founding, being CEO of a successful, huge tech platform, investment fund, early stage tech investor? What did you learn? And for those listeners that are starting in their career in the beginning, in the middle, they want that advice. What did you learn from your father?
Well, I've learned so much from...
On the business side.
Yeah, of course. I've learned so much from him on the business side. And I think a couple things come to mind. One is from an early age, he would always tell me one of the most important things in not only business, in business and my personal life, is to keep your word. Because your reputation means everything. And it doesn't matter what you sign on a contract, but if you promised something, you should deliver on it. And if you can't deliver on it for some reason, which happens, you need to be open and transparent about it, because it could always come back to bite you later. And I know that's how he managed his companies, his partnership. He was very much a handshake. Keep your word type of person. And I think I learned that really, really young. And I think it's something important that perhaps a lot of people don't focus on. And early on, when you're building a company and you're meeting so many people and you're networking, it may seem that someone you're talking to, perhaps you aren't going to do business with right now, but you never know. 5-10 years down the road, that relationship may come to full circle and they're going to remember how you treated them if you kept your word. So that's one of them. I also really liked the way that he was a manager. I think he gave his team, and I saw it firsthand, a lot of ability to co-create with him and not be afraid to share ideas and kind of see what sticks, and it's okay to fail. Failing is part of the journey. It's not...
You don't have to be perfect.
Exactly.
You can take chances.
And some people might say that he's too much of a risk taker, but I've seen all sides of it, and I've seen where there has been hard times. Terremark went through really, really rough times.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy road.
On the real estate side or on the data center?
Actually,
side?
both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah, some projects that we anticipated were, going to be much bigger than they ended up, or selling much faster than they did. And then on the tech side, he put all his eggs in this basket, and I started working there straight after getting my master's. And September 11th happened, and that really, the whole country crashed at that point. So imagine you're creating this essentially new business. You're coming out to market with it a month before September 11th, and then you're going out to investors to raise money for it as well. And of course, New York, financial, Wall Street, all that was...
People were risk off. Capital was not investing.
Of course, it was a really bad time, to be raising funds and keeping a high intensive capital business alive. So it was, but I feel like I learned a lot from watching him manage those challenges. And one other, I think, piece of advice would be your glass should always be half full.
Yeah.
The perspective should be, yes, we're going through challenges, but how do we get out of this? There's a light at the end of the tunnel, not it's over.
Right.
It's not over till it's over.
No, exactly. As a founder, yourself, as an entrepreneur, myself, you have to be optimistic. You have to push forward. You have to be realistic, but you have to also believe that you can do things that may look impossible.
Definitely. And I think you have to be consistent, you have to be determined, and you also have to realize where things are potentially going wrong.
Right.
Right? Because you could be very consistent, but you could be consistent at doing it the wrong way, perhaps, and not realizing that. It's like in sports, right? I love to play tennis, and I struggle with my forehand. And if I continuously use bad form with my forehand, it's not going to improve if I don't listen to
get a coach,
how to correct it.
With smart people.
And be open to that constructive feedback on how to, get back on track.
The story ends well. The story ends.
It does.
So Terremark Worldwide, they powered through the 2001 crisis, World Trade Centers. You went on, and the family went on, and the business and your father went on to build data centers globally.
Yes, all over the world.
And a big company came and bought up the company. Let's talk about that transaction, and then talk about where you went from there and where you're at today.
Yeah, super proud of my father and the entire team at that moment. And the company in 2011 sold to Verizon, which for a company like Terremark, which yes, was doing great and our portfolio was growing, but still you think of Verizon as the 800-pound gorilla, right? I mean, it's just such a massive global company to sort of validate your model and say, I not only want to partner with you, I want to acquire the company, I want to buy it.
Yeah.
Was really interesting
so
and
this was
exciting.
10 years in.
Yeah, 10 years later.
Really
a little over 10 years, because the first data center was 2001. We'd been building the business, say, a year before that. But 10, 11 years in to Terremark Worldwide, which is not that long.
It's not that long, no.
I've been building Emerge now for 14 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels really long. Sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday. But I think for an exit like that, 10 years, super proud of him and the entire team. And it was also for Miami Tech at the time, was definitely a big deal because it was an exit. It was, a Cuban immigrant founder here that refused to leave Miami after many requests to move the company outside of Miami. So that part of it was really exciting. But that's also where the story of Emerge began.
That is where it began. So 2011, by the way, the company sold for, Melissa's being humble here, over $2 billion, which is a massive, massive exit. This is generational wealth that was created. And this is 2011.
Yeah.
This is that's a big sale. Even today that's a big exit. Your father sounds like he's a work. He's passionate about his work, so he loves.
Were you going to say a workhorse? Yes.
A workhorse.
A workhorse, yes. I tell him I'm going to retire before him, and he laughs, but he still works like that to this day.
That's great.
Yeah.
Incredible. And that's a common trait, among the most successful founders. So, Melissa, you guys start thinking about tech. We're in Miami, and you have this idea to build something. You have the ingredients. You guys have a successful tech background and history. Tell us about Emerge. How did that come about? And what was the beginning like? And then we'll talk about, where you guys are at today, and it's grown so much.
Yeah, the idea started over lunch. My father and I actually in the Keys. We were on vacation as a family and started kind of reflecting on the sale of the company, on what had happened. This was around mid 2011. And what were the pain points? What were the frustrating points in building the company here? And at that point, so many people would say, oh my gosh, congrats, on the sale, which is wonderful. And they would say, now Miami has tech. And we would be the first ones to say, no. Unfortunately, we wish that was the case, but Miami and tech were not used in the same sentence at all at that time. And so we thought, is there a way as a family that we could help change that narrative, that we could help foster a tech ecosystem in South Florida? And so the project became, what can we do?
Right.
Given that we believed, and still today, that we have all the elements to become a thriving tech hub. Having traveled to the big tech hubs at the time, right? Silicon Valley, Boston, Austin, New York, Barcelona, Sao Paulo, we thought, And there's a uniqueness about Miami that we feel that we could fill that void. And the first project under sort of this ambitious mission was, well, in studying all these thriving tech hubs, the one common factor is that most of them have a massive convening where they're bringing together entrepreneurs, investors, global corporations, academia, and government all under one roof. And no, we had never been in that business of convenings or creating convenings. But if that's what it was going to take to at least spark, potential movement, let's call it, then that's what we're going to do. So that's where the idea was born. It was a simple conversation, just my father and I kind of talking about what's next and what can we do also to give back to a community that really has been so great to us and our family. And our passion was tech at that time. And we knew that Miami just wasn't in that sphere.
Miami wasn't in that conversation.
No, Miami wasn't in that conversation at all. And that's why we started. And then became Emerge Americas after much debate on the name and building the company. It took us 2 years.
Yeah.
So 2012, we incorporated. And 2014, we opened our doors to the first conference, May of 2014.
So the Medinas you guys are creators. You truly are early. This is because as a moving down from New York, and I came down with the COVID crowd 2 weeks in, April 2nd, 2020. I think about like the tech migration
Then.
starting with your friend, former Mayor Francis Suarez.
Huge advocate, yes.
With that
With the
tweet.
tweet.
And
How can I help?
So you guys were even ahead of that.
We were in this, to be honest with you, since 2000.
Yeah.
Right? And with building a tech company here, and then with this particular organization that my father and I co-founded was 2012. But for example, Mayor Suarez, who is a dear friend, he sits on our board, had been an advocate for this as well pre that tweet. I think what happened in 2020, which is something that I think should be studied, there should be some research or case study on Miami pre-COVID and
100%.
post-COVID. It was a multitude of factors, in my opinion. One is definitely Mayor Suarez with that tweet. It went viral. It caught the attention of millions of people globally, not even, just locally or in the US. And it was really interesting to see how fast that snowballed. And then there was, for the first time ever in South Florida, there was this migration of capital and migration of companies within the US. We had never seen that before. We are accustomed to the migration from Latin America to South Florida. But for the first time ever in 2020, we had folks coming from New York, from California, from Chicago, right, from Illinois. And that had never happened before. It's almost like this perfect storm of elements. And I don't say that we would ever want to go through a global pandemic.
Right.
I mean, first of all, that was horrible, right, for everybody. But looking back now and studying it, clearly that was a huge sort of, floodgates opening. Yeah.
It was a watershed moment.
It was a watershed moment. And there's a lot that happened before, and I don't want to say just Emerge, right? There was Endeavor, Knight Foundation. There was a lot of companies that were coming together around this mission of entrepreneurship and innovation, and that believed that South Florida was ripe for that. And then, so the foundation I really do believe was there. 2019 was our best year as a conference, to give you perspective, right? And at that point, it was our 5th year.
Yeah.
It takes a while to build a company and to build something that is a convening and in-person, and it's sort of the product market fit. 2019 was our best year. And then 2020 hit, and I thought, we are all about bringing people together, and you can't see anyone now with the pandemic. First time ever, we were hosting Emerge in March of 2020 that year. So clearly we couldn't host it, a few weeks later. It was a very difficult time in the company, very, very difficult time. And I think that's a lesson where it was almost doomsday for us because everything we did was in person.
Was in person.
Yeah, I mean, we hosted some virtual accelerators and meetings, but the bulk of our company's convenings were in person. And as positive as I am, it was very hard to see how do we get through this, right? Especially when we started to see, this is a lot longer of a process. That it's not just a pandemic for a few weeks; it's months and then years.
People had to change their whole business model.
Exactly, people had to be open to changing their business models. Going back to what I said before about keeping your word, having honest conversations with your partners, and saying
that was a very tough time.
Those are very difficult conversations to have, but it is interesting to look back now and see, holy moly, what we thought was going to be the hardest time to get through actually turned out to be this global lens on our community in a positive way.
Right.
It's actually pretty wild.
It's been COVID, while it was negative, as you said, Melissa, globally it was a really challenging experience. It's in Miami, it really accelerated the growth, the capital, the investment, the migration.
No question. I mean, you follow the data and you see it.
How has Emerge grown from a participation, attendance, sponsorship, people leaning in, political governments backing you, like from when you first launched the Miami Beach Convention Center?
Okay, so going back to 2014, okay.
Just touch on that a little bit, and then, like kind of who helped you in those early days? Because, as starting something from scratch, you need to build momentum, you need to talk to people, get people involved. And then from there, and then today, where you're at. You just had the 2026 Emerge Conference. Tens of thousands of people from around the world came, super important people. What was that journey like?
Long. I would say, I'll quickly say sort of there were 3 different touch points. One was when it was just a concept, no matter what, when you're building something that hasn't been built before, there is no proof of concept.
Yeah.
So definitely 2014 was very difficult to get people to say, I understand why you would do this in Miami. Thankfully, we had, for example, Miami-Dade County was one of our founding partners and believed in us from day one. Greenberg Traurig, big law firm, Jared Davis, one of their managing shareholders, believed in us from day one, another one of our founding partners. A lot of the universities, UM, Miami-Dade College, FIU, FAU, those are longtime partners of ours that I think for them, being in South Florida, they also really wanted this to work because it would be great for the community if this worked. So thankfully, we had those sort of solidified partners early on who, by the way, are still partners of ours today. Most companies didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Most companies said, this is crazy. It's not going to work in Miami. We did lean a lot on trusted partnerships that we had built through Terremark. And I think that's also an important lesson when you're building a company and let's say you exit, and a lot of founders have that itch to build something else again. Naturally, even if it's a totally different type of company, they may lean on relationships, whether it's with investors, partners, to at least talk about it and get feedback. So that helped us, right? We were able to reach out to a lot of technology partners that we had worked with. And some of them said, we're not sure about the concept, but we believe in you.
Right.
And we'll trust you for this 1 year, essentially. If it goes well, then we'll continue, to support. If it doesn't, then it's okay. But we believe in you as founders. And that was an important part of the beginning. So much pushback. Then post-COVID, we've grown in parallel with what you and everyone else here has seen in the community. It's palpable how this community has changed. It's palpable, the interest. When we first launched Emerge, Jay, we could not get investors to come.
Wow.
I mean, we would lay out the red carpet, you're coming to Miami Beach, and they would flat out say, and are we gonna meet like founders that we may actually invest in? It was like a novel idea. They couldn't believe it. And so now investors are asking us, how can we get first insight into your accelerator program? How can we get them as deal flow access? Just the narrative is so different now. It's so exciting. And it's not just because of what we've built. It's because of all of this that has happened, certainly over the last 5 years. Companies that have moved here, all of that continues to put more flagpoles
Yeah.
in the foundation. And I am a believer, and yes, I am an evangelist of this community, but I don't think there's any rolling this back.
No, not at all. And this is important in playing the long game.
Absolutely. This is a long game.
Doubters in the beginning, and almost all ideas, there's going to be naysayers. There's the universe. The universe needs to believe that you have enough determination to will your idea to life and get enough buy-in.
Yeah.
And you did that. And over time, you have to stick with it. And so many people are switching courses after they don't see results in a year, even 2 years. You said you had your best results 5 years in.
Yes.
And
5
now
years
today,
in.
it's off the charts.
Yeah.
Who are some of your tech partners? Who are some of the investors? Some of the entrepreneurs that are involved today? Speakers, really the leaders of Emerge.
Yeah, I mean, this year we had over 400 different partners.
Wow.
And they each come from sort of the 5 different groups I mentioned before, from startups, investors, global corporations, universities, and governments. But we have partnerships with Google, which is incredible. We have partnerships with universities now. The fun part now is that it's not just locally, right? We have grown from a South Florida focused circle to now it is fully a global event.
Yeah.
We work with large financial partners, JP Morgan Chase being one of our big partners, and multiple other banks as well. We work with professional services firms. We have startups that are focused on 4 verticals, right? We focus a lot on fintech, on national security. We have big partnerships with the US Army, for example, and different government agencies, health tech, and the last one, which is on everyone's mind, is deep tech. So everything around quantum and AI. We have large quantum companies. This year we had IonQ, if you're following them.
Okay, wow.
They are growing significantly. They were at Emerge. Yeah, it is, in our opinion, it is a physical representation of what's happening in the digital economy.
Yeah.
All kind of coming together and congregating now in South Florida once a year.
When did you start the accelerator? And
Year
how
1.
fun has that been? So you started the accelerator year 1. Wow.
We did. And you know why? Because in our team conversations, we kept seeing this theme kind of arise, that if we want this ecosystem to thrive and to play the long game, we need to make sure that we are supporting the nucleus of that, which are the founders and entrepreneurs.
Yep.
So we felt if we're helping entrepreneurs access capital, access the investor network, access the large partners, right? Marketing tools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anything we could arm them with to help them scale customer growth, that if they succeed, then they're going to hire talent, they're going to grow their team, and that it's going to help. So we actually started the accelerator program from the beginning.
From day one.
From day one, from year 1.
How many companies, how many founders have come through the accelerator?
At this point, we have had close to 1,200 companies that have gone through our accelerator program. Again, also a journey where we started very local.
Yep.
And now we have, this year we had almost 100 companies in our, we host 4 accelerator programs, but the main one is we host over 100 companies, and we had over 20 to 25 companies, countries, represented just in the cohort itself.
Wow.
We had over 50 countries represented in the conference. But that's sort of like a microcosm of the growth that we've seen at Emerge and how now it is a global platform.
And Melissa, you guys have some really interesting stats on supporting and the growth, the job creation, and capital raised. How many jobs, how much capital has been raised by your companies?
So the numbers we have, and this was a Washington Economics Group did, a study for our 10th anniversary, which was really neat. And that was already a couple years ago. So I have to think the numbers have actually increased since. But we have helped create over 10,000 jobs. And not only jobs, high wage jobs, which I think is super important. And we've had almost $3 billion economic impact in our state. So that actually, receiving that report was extremely validating and armed me with I don't even know if it was possible, but more passion to continue to grow and build, because we were and are having this impact in our community that not all of it can be tracked, but some of it can. And seeing it in black and white was really exciting to think of where we started. And now, wow, we've helped create all these jobs and this economic impact. And we've really played a role in building this sector with a lot of other organizations as well.
And Melissa, you said you have over 400 partners.
Yeah.
You run 4 accelerators.
Yes.
You're the CEO. How do you handle all this? And you have 5 kids.
Yes, I have 5 kids. I think that actually helps me. I have to,
you have to be efficient.
Exactly. I have to be efficient. My kids have to be somewhat independent too, right? Yep. I can't sweat the small things. Right. And I think I apply that into business as well. Not to say that it's easy. The struggle is real. Of
course.
As a parent, any parent, you're constant.
We have one.
Yeah,
so
but
we're beginners.
It's all relative though. 1, 2, 5, you still feel that weight as a parent.
Right.
And that guilt sometimes, and that, you have to make difficult decisions sometimes as to where you're splitting your time. But, I have a great team. I have wonderful executives that work alongside me and that are much smarter than I am in many aspects of the business.
Same.
And, and I think that's part of the recipe and a great culture.
When do you start planning for the next conference? Does that happen right? Do you guys take a little time off?
No.
No.
Right?
Jump right into it.
We were already planning for 27 before 2026 happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a massive undertaking, right? We have hundreds of exhibitors. We also have to hire hundreds of contractors to help us, right? A general services contractor. There are a lot of moving pieces to activate just the conference.
What does the eMERGE team look like to manage all of this?
Yeah, so full-time, we're around 20.
Okay.
And we are year-round.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, we host anywhere between 30 to 40 other convenings.
Okay. Wow.
Aside from the big conference, a global conference that, we market so much, right? And that could be from startup pitch competitions to roundtables to investor founder summits. They all are a little different, but we host those year round. Then the accelerator programs, they take a lot of time. And the accelerator programs are not just for early stage startups. We also have an accelerator program for SMBs and to help them with their digital transformation and AI implementation for SMBs who are the economic engine of our country, right? To help them adapt with this very fast-paced involvement of technology. All of that, takes a team, takes a lot of time and effort and thoughtfulness. And so, it's a year-round. It's a year-round effort. Yes, we take time off, as we can, but it's not as if the conference happened in April of 26 and then we're off for several months, enjoying a pina colada on the beach. No, no.
That's a huge investment in the community, because this is not necessarily an economic driver for you. I'm sure today with so many attendees and partners and sponsors, it's become economically viable. But you're really giving back to the community and creating a tech community.
Yeah, and I think that's how it started. And so that's part of sort of the DNA of the company is that, yes, it was always mission driven from the beginning. It was, what are the pain points and the frustrations that we felt, and how can we change that for future entrepreneurs, companies, builders here?
Right.
So that's been sort of the essence of the company, and we have hopefully continued to carry that through. That's the most important aspect for us. Yes, of course, we track the financials and we have metrics on the financials that we also follow very closely, and it's an exciting business.
Right.
The industry of in-person convenings is very exciting right now.
Especially in Miami.
And we're looked at globally. obviously there's been an influx. It's a great way of life. It's almost like everything is really sort of coming together now. But Elon Musk recently on a podcast several months ago mentioned specifically how he felt, and I'm paraphrasing here, that given the involvement of AI and everything sort of being digital and the digital economy, that he felt in-person events,
Yes.
music festivals, conferences were going to be even much more important.
Yep. Yeah.
And we are seeing that. We're seeing that for sure.
Absolutely. We are connected so digitally.
We are.
Never been more connected.
Yes. There's a lot of social platforms.
Right.
Yes. Never been connected more digitally. But that increases the value then
Than in person.
of in person. Yeah.
And Melissa, you also run Medina Ventures.
Yeah. I'm a partner in our fund.
And you're a partner in the fund. How do you evaluate the companies? How has the quality of the companies and the founders evolved? Maybe, they were always top from the beginning. I can imagine that.
No, it's evolved.
It's
for sure.
evolved.
Yeah, definitely. The fund was actually born out of an idea from the conference. So although they're two different organizations, we interact with founders all the time and we follow their journeys and they become part of our alumni network. And we realized a couple of things. One is there's always a need for more capital. Mm-hmm. Always. If you ask founders anywhere, usually, what's your biggest pain point?
Real estate development.
Yeah, it's usually, capital raise or customer acquisition. But a lot of the times it's mostly, especially in the beginning, right? The pre-seed, seed, Series A funding is very, very difficult. So that's one. And then, we wanted a formal vehicle to be able to invest in these founders. So it was actually very natural for us to launch an early stage fund. Again, that's separate and apart from Emerge, but that leverages Emerge as a platform and access, et cetera. It's been really exciting. And it's been, again, a clear sort of pathway from Emerge to now launch this fund.
How many companies do you invest in a year? And what does the investment committee look like in process? And you must see a lot of deals.
Yes, we get a lot of inbound, but we are very focused. We're a deep tech fund. So we focus on AI, on quantum, on the structural part of it, like not on the hardware part, on the software part. And right now, we've invested in 5 companies. It's a new fund. And we continue to evaluate deals. We have a due diligence process. We have an investment committee. We have to follow all of the fund rules. But we're excited to continue to evaluate companies and continue to invest. We focus on seed and Series A.
Okay, great.
Early stage companies, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's exciting.
Very exciting, I'm sure. And your meetings, as entrepreneurs and leaders, you're meeting so many founders, so many driven people.
All the time. I am inspired by all the founders that I meet with, that I'm able to spend time with, and usually, get some sort of ideas sparked from the conversations, and getting to know their journeys has been really, really special, really special. I've learned so much from them. And to answer your question from before, there is much more of a robust pipeline of founders now. And I think that's because, 10 years ago or even less, founders that were looking to build or looking for capital were not thinking about South Florida as an option. Right? Their North Star usually was Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for other markets, for other competing global tech hubs. And competition is good. It's healthy. We're not trying to become Silicon Valley or Boston or Austin or New York. I feel like we've created a unique option here, and now it's resonating. And so founders all over the world now are thinking
Silicon Beach.
Well, I don't want to call it that.
We have Peter Thiel.
I know. And we have Peter Thiel and Mark Zuckerberg, right? Sergey Brin. We have so many amazing tech founders that are here now. Alex Karp, right? Palantir moving from Denver here. Huge, huge news.
Yeah.
Super excited when when we heard about that. All of that just helps continue to build. And of course, what Ken Griffin has done, I think, goes without saying.
What are you most excited about for Emerge going forward, 2027 and beyond?
I'm excited just to continue to grow, continue to advocate for our community. I'm excited about the content and the themes and, more and more and more, Yeah, continuing to scale. We're seeing that J-curve effect.
Yeah.
And we want to continue on it. What, the ultimate future holds for Emerge, we'll see. But we are super committed, and we continue on this growth trajectory, and that equals more impact here. So we'll continue building for sure.
That is amazing. On a personal level,
yeah,
you grew up in Miami Beach. You've been in Miami. What are some of your favorite restaurants? Where's the Medina family eat? Maybe at home?
Yeah, I'd say our favorite spot to go as a family is definitely the Grove area. Right, there's multiple different restaurants there depending on the vibe, or if it's lunch or dinner that we visit, and cafes. Just love it. That's probably where, even though we don't live in the Grove area, we definitely visit there often. And our sort of secret escape as a family is the Keys.
Okay.
We like to journey down to the Keys, Key Largo area.
Key Largo. Okay.
Yeah, Key Largo area.
That's where Emerge was. The Keys.
That's where, exactly. That was where we first had the conversation before it even had a name. Awesome. So I've been growing up on the water, and that's, I think, a special part about living in Miami too, is having the access to water. Yeah. And lastly, what advice do you have for those who are looking to start a company or maybe move to Miami, raise capital? What is being a successful CEO, founder in tech? What advice do you have for those out there to push forward? Yeah, I would say if there are founders that are evaluating, right, where their next move is geographically, and if Miami is piquing their interest, I would say continue to evaluate it. I have never been so excited about what's happening in our community. There is also an opportunity for new founders to be a part of building what's next for Miami. I think that's the exciting timing right now. The foundation is
make an impact.
Yes, you can come, you can make an impact, and you could help really build it and be an author alongside so many others in what's next, or what the next phase is in this community, where, there's a lot of established tech hubs, which are great, but we're not at that established tech hub yet, which is, I think,
or a rising star.
Yeah, that's where the opportunity is.
Right.
So for founders, I think it's a ripe moment now. There's so much attention here. And let's be real, the concentration of capital now that's in Florida is insane.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
That is the
best
advice of the show. And Melissa, how can people connect with you? Where can they find you?
I love to connect, so you can find me most of the social handles. I'm at Mel Medina 305 across social handles, and you could send me a message, emergeamericas.com. There's an info section there, and you can find me there as well. But I'm not hard to find.
You're out there.
I'm out there. I love having conversations. I love connecting with people. I'm always open to collaboration and new opportunities, new ideas. That's actually a lot of how Emerge has evolved.
Right.
So many people bringing amazing ideas to our team and kind of co-creating together.
Melissa Medina, Emerge is open for business. Contact her. Thank you for being on The Long Game.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a lot of fun.